doesn't matter where you're at in your cybersecurity journey. If you haven't started, if you've already started implementing a few measures, if you haven't started, start now. Start small. Just start anywhere you're at. And then if you've already started, it's like be good job on starting, but be proactive as well. And always, cybersecurity isn't a one-time thing you do, a one-time solution that you implement. That's it. You're done.
Welcome to Business Ninjas, brought to you by WriteForMe, where you'll hear from business leaders who are out there growing their business and slaying it every day. Learn from the masters. Let's get started.
Hey everybody, this is Max Pittman from WriteForMe, and you're listening to another episode of the Business Ninjas podcast, where we meet the experts who are making things happen and scaling their businesses. And today we're talking about SecLex with Mr. Erik Delgadillo, who is the Director of Growth at SecLex. Erik, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I'm excited to dive into SecLex and all the great things you guys have going on. And for those who aren't familiar with SecLex, they're in the managed cybersecurity services space. They've been around since 2017. They offer a wide variety of services to help manage your security operations that obviously are very important these days. So that definitely at the forefront of helping customers be able to solve for either internal threats or external threats. But helping with the security of your data and your organization. So before we dive into that, you could probably say it a lot more eloquently than I can on what your focuses are at the company. I'd love to give you the opportunity to tell our community, who is really built of entrepreneurs, executives, and sales and marketing as leaders like yourself. Love it if you can tell our community a little about who is Erik, what were you doing before you came to SecLex, and maybe some of the things you're focused on today as well.
Great, thank you. Yeah, well, I have an interesting background and story. I'm a designer by heart, which it has allowed me to think differently. I like to believe that it's giving me a good balance between being able to think creatively and analytically as well. So I got my degree in landscape architecture. So I used to be a designer. I did that for a couple of years. For about 5 years, I was with a design firm, and it's interesting because I was on the other side too. So the firm I was with got hit with ransomware, and that's kind of how the story started with SecLex. But yeah, so we brought in SecLex to come and help out, to help us recover. And then eventually I just grew a relationship with them. And then they offered me a position on the role, and I was able to introduce them to a new market, which is design firms, architectural firms, engineering firms. So from that's kind of where I got a sales role. And then I'm on my 5th year now. So this is my 5th year with SecLex, and now I'm a Director of Growth, which encompasses sales, business development, and a little bit of marketing too. So
I love it. That's great. So being on the sales team yourself, starting out there here at SecLex, obviously, being at the forefront of all of the conversations that the sales team is having, I'd love it if you can kind of help me with understanding a little bit about what is the elevator pitch of the company. What problems specifically are you guys solving for your customers?
Nice. Well, my favorite elevator pitch, I guess, is we give organizations peace of mind and the confidence to navigate the digital landscape by safeguarding the business, helping them meet industry standards, which I'll speak on a little bit more later, and be well positioned for success. So yeah, I'd like to keep it short and sweet, kind of keep it focused but broad. Because we help with, we become your outsourced cybersecurity department. We give you the peace of mind that your business is safe at all times, 24/7. So our operations and services are 24/7. So our team doesn't sleep. I sleep because I'm on the sales side, so I sleep, but the techs don't. But we also help with compliance. Compliance is the ugly cousin of cybersecurity. And now new regulations are coming out, and they all have cybersecurity included in it, and it's going to keep going that direction. So we help them with compliance and helping them meet industry standards, which it's getting more and more difficult to attain.
So of the companies that, you talk to on the sales side and the ones that, from a business development perspective, you guys are going after, like what are some of the top verticals or industries that you guys service? And maybe what are some of the challenges that you're solving for them specifically?
Right now, I will have to say manufacturing companies that work in the Department of Defense space. So DoD contractors, because they have to meet the CMMC compliance, uh, which is something going into effect. I think the final day is like 2026. I think that's what it is now. But it takes a long time in order for them to understand where they're at, where they need to be, and how to get them there. So I think that's been a focus of ours for the last 3 to 4 years. But also any other industry that's highly regulated. There's a lot of there's a lot of industries out there that provide professional services, but like CPAs, for example, have to meet certain compliance, which those are always a really good fit for us.
Mhm.
And what was the other part of the question,
I'm
Matt?
just kind of curious, like, so within like the manufacturing like space, focused specifically in like Department of Defense, like what are some of the challenges or use cases as to why they would partner up with SecLex that you solve for them?
Yeah, well, the good question. Some of them, well, the issues that we're seeing with them, well, first of all, it's really hard for them to understand the compliance framework and understand what it means and what they have to do and what they need to have in place. So that's the issue that we're always seeing. It doesn't even if they have a security team in house or or a huge IT department, understanding the frameworks and compliance and how all that works and the language and the verbiage, it's a whole different world. So that's an issue that we're seeing out there, but we we pretty much fit right into it because we're positioned to come in as a third party to come in and really help them navigate that journey.
Mhm.
So that's what we're doing.
So it sounds like there's a lot of like education that you guys are having to do, right? And is that coming through like as, building, building like content? Are you guys like taking people out? Like how are you guys building those relationships and continue to educate on, what you can solve for them specifically?
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. Education is a big factor in our industry. We need to educate as we have conversations, and one way is through content. Another way is through conversations. We usually need to have a lot of conversations in the sales process in order to keep the needle moving. But with one is by having the content and the resources created to be able to share with them. Uh, and then another one is through luncheons, meetings, getting that face-to-face time with them, being able to discuss with them exactly what they need to do, explain things. So it's a lot of conversations.
Mhm. Makes sense. Yeah, and I'm just kind of curious, I think when understanding like of the companies that you guys work best with and the challenges that they have and you guys having to like educate that also, what would you say like makes you guys stand out, against, other competitors that, also in the managed services cyberspace? What would you say like are the biggest reasons as to like what makes up like the secret sauce that you guys provide at SecLex?
With direct competitors, what makes us stand out is that we're a boutique cybersecurity company. That's kind of what we consider ourselves to be. We we really work we become partners. Uh we become a part of their team and their company as well by us providing our services. So I think that's one of the key differences. And another thing too is everyone in our team are cybersecurity experts. Well, on the technology side of things, we have security engineers, SOC analysts, architects. We have uh, chief information security officers. So we've always been a cybersecurity company. We've never been just an IT company. We've always been cybersecurity. So I think being able to produce and being able to hand like hand pretty much like give those white glove services to our clients and be very specialized and really understand exactly how they operate, what they're doing, how they're doing it, and be an extension of the company is what really makes us stand out.
It definitely sounds like, people, processes
Mm,
for sure are, part of the hands-on approach itself. So like what is kind of the best practice in, a manufacturing customer and, like in the aerospace, industry, like how are your teams engaging, with their, with the teams at those organizations?
Could you explain a little bit more?
Just kind of curious, like,
Mm.
from customer success perspective, like what are some of what are some of the things that like your post sales team are focusing on, like with their point of contacts? Is it setting up infrastructure? Is it being proactive against maybe where there's bugs, or you guys are the experts, right? I'm just kind of curious to understand like what are some of those key use cases that your team are solving for them or being proactive about when it comes to like your processes and approach.
Oh yeah, also on the success side of things. So yes, so they they all get assigned and a project manager, pretty much an account manager that oversees everything uh, from the first start of onboarding all the way in, for the whole life of our relationship. But we they get assigned a team, they get assigned a virtual CISO as well that works along with them through the whole period of time. And then we, on the threat hunting side of things, we proactively threat hunt and pretty much look for threats depending on what solution they got. But yeah, to make sure that we make sure that we catch anything and any malicious activity before it causes any disruption. And being able to log all that and the communication with and having the communication with our clients weekly, bi-weekly, it really depends on how they want it. And then yeah, just being able to have full transparency between what's going on
Yeah,
and the environment and the communication between both teams is it's key.
definitely. Yeah, I mean, you guys are playing a vital role in risk management, right? So in people's infrastructure is important to make sure that there's no threats, right? Or that if there are threats, they're being proactive and making sure like you guys are a partner, and helping to obviously get ahead of those, because then it's like literally worst case scenario, like companies are down, like networks are down, infrastructure is down. So you guys obviously have to have a team of experienced people on your organization to help and be specialists in security, security technology, and you have to be able to like think about all the scenarios that may happen and be at the forefront of making sure that they don't happen for your clients.
Mm. Oh yeah, just like that.
Yeah, I'm trying. Right, this is your world. I'm a novice in a lot of different things, so love to like just understand like what does make you guys stand out, right? Like do you, there's a very competitive space that you're in, and you're also up against teams that probably already have or companies already have teams built out internally, at these large aerospace and DoD clients, right? So, I think it's great for us to like just talk really quickly about like from the outside looking in, it's kind of hard to tell, but like what would make you different than another like managed security provider?
I think a big thing right now is the compliance side of things. So I think that's one of the main thing that makes us different is being able to help them with the compliance framework and be able to get them from where they're at and where they need to be. I think that's what makes us very different. And then also, it doesn't matter what type of environment you have, how complex it is, if it's on premise, fully on the cloud, um, or a hybrid, or it doesn't matter what type of device it would be, Linux, um, Microsoft, Apple, whatever. We haven't found one that we haven't been able to protect and manage and stuff. So
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, definitely. So to have flexibility and be able to kind of cover all different types of technology and solutions, for sure, that helps you expand a wider network and wider market, for how you guys can help out your customers. Being on the growth side of things, but starting out in sales, doing now you're encompassing both sales and marketing. What has marketing done to help the business stand out? Like what types of things you focused on from a marketing perspective?
yeah, it's changed so much. So I joined in 2018, 2019, so pre-COVID. Um, we weren't doing much marketing. It was more of sales outreach. There was a lot of just like emailing now, email campaigns, which is a little bit of marketing, but more sales focused. phone calls, site visits, and then the pandemic hit and it completely changed the game. And then right now it's different now too than what we were doing during the pandemic time. So now we rely heavily more on content, blogs, uh, a lot more in-person events too, like speaking engagements is what we're doing. A few podcasts we've done as well as for me and then the CEO.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, it's right now is we're really focused on like blog content creation, having a big online presence, the SEO, all that. So it's changed a bit. I think now this is more of an influence on marketing and exactly like being able to produce all that content. So every company is like a content creator now. So you got to produce a lot of content. So which is helping out as well too.
Absolutely. Yeah. There has to be a focus on the blog and nurture content, and obviously formatting that for the way that Google wants it to ensure that it drives the right eyeballs, to your website, right? Because if you're not formatting things correctly, then the right people are never going to end up consuming, your content or finding you guys, and they're going to end up going to competitors. So, totally would agree that focus for content should be on like thought leadership. It should be on social, should be the elements of, blog posts, and also sharing that across social. So, that's definitely a way to generate marketing qualified leads. What about sales qualified leads? Is there still a focus on outbound? Is that still a channel that you guys are leveraging?
But on the sales side, yeah,
Mhm.
I think we have to be heavily focused on outbound. We've it's very low percentage has been inbound of our client base. So yeah, so we still have to go ahead, as we say,
Yeah.
go out there and search and do a lot of activities, cold calling still.
Yep.
We're pairing that, of course, with email campaigns, with social media activities, in-person events has always worked well for me. So I do a lot of the business development side of things. I'm out on sites a lot at events, conferences, which does produce a lot of return on investment too. So, but it's a mix of everything. You kind of have to just be agile and be able to do a little bit of everything, have different touches on the prospects and all that works. Yeah, they just kind of have to see you more, make sure that you're a real person and not just a bot or something. So,
Yes.
like especially with security, I'm sure you've heard of it, but it's really hard to sell cybersecurity. It's sensitive, it's like you're giving the keys up to their kingdom, and trust has always been important in the sales process, but it's especially when it comes to cybersecurity. So, come on, you can't get any more.
Yeah. Absolutely. Right. It's a sensitive world that you're living in, for sure, but it's a world that continues to evolve, and you guys have to be at a forefront of ensuring that people's networks are safe, people's data is safe, right? And the companies can continue to expand and grow without having that worry that of a threat, right? So it makes sense why you're going to need to be out and about, being at events, meeting people, and also continue to cast a net, to capture more engagement, for the sales team and for yourself, from an outbound perspective. That's definitely a pipeline I would see, like being a big focus for you and other cyber companies that are out there competing, is to ensure your name continues to be in front of the right individuals. So who would you say are the individuals, that sales, needs to be talking to? Is it the director of ITs, director of infrastructure, CTO, CIO, CISO? What are some of the types of roles that you guys are focused in on?
Depending on the size of the organizations, but IT directors, IT managers are usually good ones for us. But besides that, CFOs, chief operating officers as well. And then if it's a smaller organization, the CEOs and presidents too. So 'cause if they do have someone that is responsible for their IT environment or something, then they'll introduce us to them and have us talk to them. But with companies that are a little bigger, even companies that already have a security team, like the person in charge of the security, because we augment their team, so we become an extension of them, or there's certain gaps in their environment that they need to then they need to fill, and we help them with that. So that's where we come in. It's really hard to find a talent out there for cybersecurity. There was already a shortage before the pandemic, and it's gotten even larger now after So it's really hard to find the cybersecurity talent and to retain it, because they're expensive too. So it's better to outsource, depending on what you're doing and how big you are and how deep your pockets are. But
Definitely. So what is like, would you say the next like year going to look like for SecLex? Like, how are you guys planning to grow and scale the business?
yeah, well, we I feel like we have our heads down and focus on just growth and acquisitions of new customers.
Mhm.
So I think within the next year, we want to hit a few milestones. One if is get into the 5 million revenue. Well, I don't want to talk about numbers, but since it's there's no other way to explain it. But yeah, I think being able to hit the $5 million revenue within the next year is one of the main goals for the company, so, and my team actually. So
Absolutely. So as the investment continues to outbound, into obviously inbound generation and getting the right people, from organic search into the website, and also probably even relying a little bit maybe on channel partners. Is that another like area that you guys are looking to leverage as a pipeline?
yeah, I think our partnerships that we have play a key role in our growth. And yeah, so I think that's maybe around 50 to 60% of our business comes from our partners.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely a big aspect of our business. So, and yeah, it's priceless almost. Being able to have those right partners uh, that could kind of introduce you to the right person, or they have a client that's having issues with something and we can help them out with. Yeah, it it expands your internal team, just so.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think like when you put it all together from, word of mouth, uh, channel partners, referrals, inbound, outbound, and even like going out in the field, events, conferences, thinking about all of the different areas of how to generate opportunities and leads. You guys are hitting all of those, which is, obviously going to be key. So it's great to hear like that's definitely the focus and getting to where you guys need to be from a revenue perspective. So looking forward to seeing how you guys grow over the next year or so. And as we get there, like what's the best way for people to get a hold of you, Erik, and SecLex? Like you mentioned you guys are going to be at some events potentially coming up. Like as we wrap things up, just feel free to share with our listeners how to find you, how to find the company.
And so, well, I'm very active on LinkedIn. So you can reach me on LinkedIn. It's forward dash Erik Delgadillo, Erik with the K, Delgadillo. I'm very active on there, so you can send me a message, and then email me at Erik at seclexisc.com. And then the website too. The website is a great resource. It's www.seclexisc.com. And
Awesome. Anything else that we haven't covered that you're hoping to share today that that you think our listeners should know about you or about the company?
Maybe one thing I would like to share is doesn't matter where you're at in your cybersecurity journey. If you haven't started, if you've already started implementing a few measures, if you haven't started, start now. Start small. Just start anywhere you're at. And then if you've already started, it's like be good job on starting, but be proactive as well. And always, cybersecurity isn't a one-time thing you do, a one-time solution that you implement. That's it, you're done. No, it's a living, pretty much activity that you got to keep doing. It's like going to the gym. It's like as soon as you stop going, you go back to how you were before. So it's something you always have to be on top of. You always have to be doing, and it's not going anywhere. It's only going to get worse. Start now and keep going with it. And partner with professionals. There seems like there's a lot of noise out there. Seems like there's a lot of them out there, but a lot of them are, I don't want to bash on them, but just like they're more focused on like IT and stuff. So when it comes to cybersecurity, it's a different practice, different mindset. So just find those cybersecurity experts and have them on speed dial, just in case.
I love it. Yeah. Thanks for that. I need to go to the gym. But I love it. Yeah. Everyone go check out seclexisc.com. Hit up Erik with a K as well. Thank you for sharing that too on LinkedIn. And any services you guys might need, whether that's managed security, managed IT, consulting, stock as a service. They have some services there, and also solutions around endpoint security, security compliance, and awareness training as well. So definitely hit them up if these are some areas that you need to learn, or to find a better that's going to help you out. So appreciate you being a part of the podcast, Erik. Thank you so much for sharing your story and helping us understand who is SecLex and how you guys are growing and scaling.
Thanks, Max. It was a pleasure chatting with you.
You bet. Yeah, thanks for your time today, and feel like it was definitely a great conversation. I feel like I've learned a lot about you, like I mentioned. So thank you for taking time out of your day to share that. And that wraps up another episode of our Business Ninjas podcast. Everyone, thank you so much for listening, and don't forget to check out seclexisc.com. Have a great rest of the day. Cheers.